The Miami Heat lose their leading scorer in Tyler Herro, plus Jonathan Kuminga's agent pulls no punches in explaining just what the situation is with the Golden State Warriors. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. I've said it before, but right now about 70% of you watching this, you're not subscribed. Let's fix that. Hit that subscribe button. All right, let's dive into it. Unfortunate news this morning. Miami Heat All-Star Tyler Herro undergoing surgery on his left foot and will be sidelined to begin the 2025-2026 season, according to Shams Charania of ESPN. Herro suffered an ankle injury in the offseason, in an offseason workout that led to the decision for surgery, sources said. So to me, that's just a reminder that, hey, guys can get hurt in workouts too. It's not just a risk with players playing for their national teams, players playing in Eurobasket or something like that. That's not the only risk factor for players. Guys are not just sitting on the couch in bubble wrap all summer. No, they go, they train, they get ready for the season, and there is inherent risk with that. As we're seeing here with Tyler Herro, we also saw earlier in the season, or in the summer, Jaren Jackson Jr. got injured for the Memphis Grizzlies. So workouts do have a risk factor as well. And unfortunately, that Tyler Herro is going to be out now to start the season. So what does this mean for the Miami Heat? Well, you look, and Tyler Herro, 24 points per game, by far, not close, the leading scorer for the Miami Heat last season, but also the leader in assists at 5.5 per game. This is a big loss for the Miami Heat. We go and look at and see what this means for his overall production. Tyler Herro, they were a plus 5.6, just 0.3 points per 100 possessions less than the impact that Jimmy Butler had for Miami. Now, was that a particularly motivated Jimmy Butler? No, it's certainly fair to mention that. I'm not saying that Tyler Herro is the same quality of player as Jimmy Butler, but nonetheless, he's a good player. He's an important player for this Miami Heat team. And now they're going to have to look elsewhere for some of the playmaking on this roster. Does that put the ball in the hands of a Bam Adebayo a bit more? Are you trying to create through him? Does Andrew Wiggins have to show a little bit more playmaking chops on the wings? I think it's going to be an all of the above type situation. Nikola Jovic may need to get involved on the wing too, with some of his passing chops. And then you've got a guy like Davion Mitchell, who they retained in the summer. Can you ask him to do a little bit more? But this is a tough spot for a Miami Heat side that really wants to try to make a push this year and really wants to try to show that they can be a playoff team in the Eastern Conference. And if they can't, I think this could spark some activity from the Heat. We look at last year, Miami was the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. And remember, the East is primed for another, despite being weaker than the Western Conference for essentially the last 2.5 decades now, every season except for one, I believe. The East has had a weaker record than the West. Now you've got an Eastern Conference that is missing Jason Tatum, that is missing Tyrese Halliburton due to unfortunate calf injuries. You saw Damian Lillard leave the conference and also have the Achilles injury, I should say, and Damian Lillard also with an Achilles injury. Can we stop Achilles injuries, by the way? Can we uncheck that box this season, NBA? Enough with the Achilles tears, for crying out loud. But Miami, looking at the Eastern Conference, there's opportunities, and that's why we saw Atlanta really go for it and push some chips in and go get Kristaps Porzingis. We saw the Orlando Magic go get Desmond Bane. These teams are making moves to try to win right now because they recognize the opportunity that exists in the East, with the Celtics probably taking a step back, with the Pacers taking a step back. And there's opportunity here. Can the Miami Heat capitalize on it? Well, that certainly is looking questionable. So what does that mean for the Heat's decision-making as we get into the season? Well, there were already questions about what is Miami going to do with Tyler Herro. Do they give him an extension or not? Obviously, right now, that's looking like a no. And then what does that mean for their decision-making moving forward? Do we see Miami try to clear roster spots and cap flexibility so that they can do something next summer? They do have the potential for flexibility this next summer. You have Tyler Herro on the books for $33 million, Andrew Wiggins at a $30 million player option that he's widely expected to pick up, Davion Mitchell. And then after that, look, Kello Ware, you're not turning down that team option, obviously. Jaime Jaquez should definitely pick that one up as well. You picked up Kasparis Yakashonis in the draft this year, but these are all smaller salaries. We look at the amount of flexibility that Miami could potentially have when we're talking about the overall active cap that they've got compared to the cap maximum. They've got about $20 million in wiggle room there if you were to renounce your cap holds. So there is a world where Miami, should they shed a little bit more salary, could become a salary cap team that's got the opportunity to go out there and be a spender on the market. And I do wonder if the Heat struggle to start the year, if they aren't clearly in the playoff mix, especially missing Tyler Herro, do we see them trade away some players to try to clear additional long-term salary? Now, again, they just signed Davion Mitchell. He's not trade eligible until January 15th, worth noting there. But Andrew Wiggins, does he become more available should the Heat get off to a slower start to begin the season? Again, it's going to be tough sledding without Tyler Herro to start the year. So just something to keep an eye on here as Miami is moving forward. But unfortunate news, again, Tyler Herro out to start the year, and that is a big, big loss for the Miami Heat. All right, Jonathan Kuminga, his agent went on the Hoop Collective podcast and pulled no punches when being asked about the situation that currently exists between Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors. I think he broke things down exactly where they stand and what he's expecting very, very nicely. Let's get to that next.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code Bulletin. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
All right, so Jonathan Kuminga remains in a standoff with the Golden State Warriors. He is a restricted free agent, very clearly not seeing eye to eye with Golden State on both his long-term future with the club. I think both sides recognize that most likely there's going to be a parting of ways, and I think Kuminga believes that the best-case scenario for him will be to play for another team that is not the Warriors. The Sacramento Kings believe it's them that Kuminga would like to play for, but we have been following this dramatic story over the course of the summer, and now Kuminga's agent, Aaron Turner, went on the Hoop Collective, and here's what he had to say. There's a lot of upside. He wants to pick where he wants to go. So the qualifying offer is real for sure. That panic alarms in Golden State. It's a disaster for the Warriors if Jonathan Kuminga, well, maybe I'm overstating, but it is very much not good for the Warriors if Jonathan Kuminga picks up the qualifying offer, because that would put him on a path to leave Golden State next summer for nothing. Remember, we've talked about it, but the qualifying offer, with that, he'd get about $8 million for one season and would have an inherent no trade clause and would be an unrestricted free agent next summer if Jonathan Kuminga picks that option. Look, I don't think everybody within the Warriors believes that Jonathan Kuminga is the long-term guy for them. They just don't want to lose him for nothing. That's what this is about, and that's why the Warriors are playing hardball on the contract here. They're not so much worried about Jonathan Kuminga getting fair value. They're worried about Jonathan Kuminga being a trade asset for them. So they're trying to be very careful that they don't give him a contract that could be perceived as a negative value, because then you can't trade him, or it's much more difficult to trade him. They needed to be a positive value contract. That's why they've been reportedly pushing for a team option, flip that, on the final year of the contract, as well as a 2-year deal initially, reporting the other day that they bumped that up to a 3-year deal, but a player option at the end of it. We'll take a look at this. Kuminga's agent laying out the situation very clearly, I think, from his side. Said if they want to win right now, if you want a guy that's happy and treated fairly, who is a big part of this team, we believe, moving forward, give him the player option. Look, they're making it very clear what we want. We don't want a team option. We want a player option. Give us that if you want us to be happy. He said you do lose a little of that trade value. Yeah, because teams don't like seeing player options on contracts. They want to see a team option. They want to see non-guaranteed money. They want to see team control. Easy to see why, but nonetheless, he's right. Adding a player option diminishes some of Kuminga's trade value. And if the Warriors are more concerned about Kuminga as a trade chip than as a basketball player, well, first of all, if that's the case, Jonathan Kuminga should not feel beholden to the Golden State Warriors in any kind of a way, right? If all they're going to see you as is a trade chip rather than a player that they want to build around. But that also means that they're going to really dig their heels in the sand here and not budge on this whole player option situation. He said, but it's about the here and now. You give him that. If it's about the here and now, you give him that. You don't get a perfect deal, but you get a pretty good deal, and he gets to feel respected about what he gets, and we all move on and worry about winning and helping Steph Curry. So he's saying, look, if you want to win right now and you want a happy Jonathan Kuminga on your roster, give him the player option. Show him that little bit of respect rather than trying to squeeze him, and make sure that he is the most valuable trade chip for you that he possibly can be. Check this out. 2 years from now, if you want to keep him, so we're talking about it's a 3-year deal right now. Third year would be a player option. 2 years from now, if you want to keep him, you'll have his bird rights. So saying he'll opt out of that player option, but then you'll have bird rights. If you treat him good over those next 2 years and you show him the plan, maybe you keep him. Now, that doesn't exactly make the Warriors feel all warm and fuzzy, does it? Hey, if you treat him well and the team's playing well, maybe you can keep him. We'll see. Yeah, that doesn't exactly scream, we're committing to you, Golden State. Nor should they be, though. Golden State isn't exactly committing to Jonathan Kuminga. My God, can we break these two up already or what? Giving Kuminga Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors are like that couple that just constantly fights, and everybody knows they're horrible for each other, and they need to go their separate ways. They're going to be much better off and much happier if they're both just single, but here they are kind of stuck in this situation. Giving Kuminga a player option is not perfect, but I don't think anybody can get everything they really want. If you ask Kuminga, he wants Jalen Green's deal. By the way, Jalen Green's deal around the NBA, depends on who you talk to, but is largely going to be seen as a negative value contract there. Jalen Green, $33.5 million this next season, $36.5 million this season after that, and then a $36 million player option for year 3. Jonathan Kuminga saying, I'm as good as Jalen Green. I should have his contract. But I think most teams around the NBA look at Jalen Green's deal right now and say, that's a little bit of a mistake. We wouldn't want to give up that kind of money. So I don't know if that's exactly the contract Kuminga should be pointing towards, but I also get why he would be in his negotiating situation. He's not getting that. He wants Jalen Johnson's deal. Yeah, definitely not getting Jalen Johnson's deal. I don't know if you've taken a peek recently. By the way, if Jalen Johnson's healthy, he could very well be worth that. And I'm sure that Jonathan Kuminga says, yeah, I could be worth this too. But look at Jalen Johnson. 5 years, $30 million flat across those 5 years. $150 million for Jalen Johnson. The Hawks obviously very committed to him. And Kuminga saying, yeah, I want that deal as well. Here, help if I actually showed it here for you. Jonathan Kuminga saying, yeah, I want that deal too. I want to have a contract like that. I am good enough to be that kind of player in the NBA. He wants the opportunity to prove that. Said, you're not getting Jalen Johnson's deal. If the Warriors, we feel like, pick the front end, if that number needs to be lower to stay under the second apron. By the way, the most that the Warriors can pay Kuminga on the first year of the deal is about $22.5 million if they want to stay below that second apron. Remember, they're going to trigger a hard cap at the second apron when they eventually sign Al Horford to the taxpayer mid-level exception deal. Right now, Horford, Seth Curry, DeAnthony Melton, all these guys just sitting out there waiting to be signed, waiting for the Kuminga situation to resolve. So Kuminga's agent here, Aaron Turner, saying, yeah, look, if you want it to be under $22.5 million, then give us the player option. If you don't want us to have a player option, then you need to make a trade. Shake up your roster so you can pay us more, and then you can have the team option at the end. So think about that. Again, right now, $22.5 million off the top of my head is the most that the Golden State Warriors can pay Jonathan Kuminga if they want to be able to stay below that second apron. So Kuminga's agent is saying, hey, look, fine, you want to stay below this number on the front end of the deal? Great, we'll do that, but we need the player option. Oh, you don't want the player option on there? Okay, then we need to be above $22.5 million, which means you need to trade someone. Shed salary then, so you can give us more. That's what Jonathan Kuminga's agent is saying. He also said there is a third path. Or if it's really about controlling the back end, he said, or the hybrid model. Let him keep his no trade clause. So that's a part of this too, which would be, say, a 2-year contract, second year option, and that would inherently come with a full no trade clause. And the Warriors have made a stipulation of that contract that he would waive that no trade clause. We've seen other players do it. If it's a 2-year deal with an option on the second year, the NBA views it as a 1-year contract. And if you trade that contract, the bird rights don't transfer with it. We saw a similar situation with the Lakers and Jackson Hayes, and he ultimately waived that. It was under the new CBA that the ability to waive this no trade first came about. D'Angelo Russell was actually the first guy to ever do it with the Lakers a few years ago. So now you've got Aaron Turner presenting this third option saying, hey, or sign him to a 2-year deal. We'll do that, but we want the no trade clause. We want the ability to control where he's going to go. Ultimately, the Warriors or Kuminga's camp, they feel like he is better than what the Warriors think he is. And they just want him to have the opportunity to prove that. And they don't think he's going to get the opportunity to prove that in Golden State, playing behind Draymond and Jimmy Butler and being in this environment. And so they're saying, look, all right, if I'm not going to be able to prove that I'm an all-star caliber player like I think I am, then I want to be compensated for that. I want to be paid on this contract if I'm going to stay here in a situation that will not allow me to spread my wings the way I want to. On the flip side, you want to sign and trade me somewhere that will allow me to spread my wings? Great, I'll play ball. Let's do that. But Golden State has been shutting down those opportunities. So all of this mess, the clock is ticking. October 1st, that's going to be the deadline for Kuminga to sign that qualifying offer. But very clearly, this appearance by Aaron Turner, a shot at the Golden State Warriors. Hey, here's what we want. And if you don't budge, we're picking up the qualifying offer and you can wave goodbye to him for nothing next summer. We'll see ultimately where this situation lands. But everybody give me your thoughts in the comments down below. What's going to happen with Jonathan Kuminga and what may happen with the Miami Heat with Tyler Herro already out to start the season. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Till next time, everybody. Thank you all for all your support. See ya and stay safe.